No star-spangled banners flying high, Santa's waiting, but the eagle won't try. Pretoria's got a thorn in its side, diplomatic poker played worldwide. Ace on the table, hearts on the floor. Who's keeping score? Who's keeping score? No USA and RSA. Big summit's gone astray. Trump said his piece, now he's on his way. No USA and No USA and RSA. Blank stares, the ANC's got no plan. Sad faces, but the show must stand. From Washington to Johannesburg sand, the game is rigged, the dealer's hand. Ace on the table, hearts on the floor. Who's keeping score? Who's keeping score? No USA and RSA. Big summit's gone astray. Trump said his piece, now he's on his way. No USA No USA and RSA. Oh,
Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Monday, November 17th, 2025. Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you join me once again for Chris Wyatt Reports here on the Indaba Africa channel. Pleasure to have you join. All right, sounds working good. Just double checking. Well, boy, CNN aired its documentary. In just full disclosure, so people are fully aware. Let's get Pikachu down. Let's put our little bookie up there. There we go. Put him up there instead. In its full disclosure, for those who know or those who don't know, I was contacted by CNN earlier this summer and asked if I would participate in a documentary about South Africa on the eve of the G20 summit. They plan to air it this weekend. They told me back in June, I think it was. Maybe it was July. I think it's June. Yeah, June they first reached out to me, and they said that they wanted to talk about South Africa, where it's at, its economy, its presidency of the G20, what's happening in South Africa, and they wanted to touch on the refugee situation. Well, I took them at their word, and I agreed to participate in the documentary. They said they wanted to interview me. Well, it's kind of humbling to be asked to be interviewed by a major news network, so sure, that's fine. So I asked them what they wanted to do. They wanted Atlanta, they want me to go to D.C., what they want. And they said, no, we'll just, in order to save costs, we'll have you come down to Birmingham, where we're going to be down. We're going to be interviewing a refugee down there. But they really hadn't got the refugee's approval yet, so I talked to Errol Musk, and he agreed he'd do it for CNN. Anyway, they flew me down there. They paid for my flight. They paid for accommodation. The producer was very professional, very polite, interesting gentleman. Seemed to have good intent here. And I took at face value that CNN was looking for news. I didn't realize that they were simply seeking to perpetuate a racist narrative and a racial narrative and divide people based on race. I didn't know that was their intent. So based on the clips, I haven't watched the program from last night. I did record it, and I will watch it later on. I just didn't want to be bent out of shape because the clips have really torqued me off because it's nothing but racist bullshit that I saw. Now, one thing they did is looking for information about South Africa. We have Donnie O'Sullivan going to South Africa to interview Errol Musk, not an American, didn't grow up in America, and he's asking him about whether whites will be a minority in America in 20 years. Where does Errol Musk come into this equation? It was an inappropriate question. It was intentionally provocative. It was meant to provoke exactly what CNN got. And Lord wonders how much more of the interview was cut out. I don't know. I didn't see it. So did they cut out the things where he said something less caustic? But what Errol Musk said was very caustic and plays very much into the hands of this ANC and the brace hustlers and the black supremacist and white leftist lunatics in South Africa. Very unfortunate to see what was aired by CNN from Errol Musk. And the behavior of CNN in this whole episode is not shocking, but disappointing. Just when you think that they've been taken over by responsible adults and are going to be a genuine news organization, they pull this stunt. So let's just go to this situation here. So Errol Musk appeared in the CNN mockumentary, fake-umentary, sham-umentary that went on last night on CNN. And he said some odd things. We fed them, for crying out loud. Oof, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good. Father tech billionaire Elon Musk has made controversial claims saying black people were never oppressed under apartheid. Instead, he said they were fed and given work. If at a minimum, folks, that has a bad look just to begin with because it's very paternalistic. Musk made statements during a viral CNN interview where he was asked about the projection of the U.S. becoming a white minority within the next 2 decades. What kind of authority is Errol Musk on this, and why do we care about Errol Musk's opinion on this? Errol Musk has opinions on many things, like the raising of his son and issues in South Africa or events during apartheid. But what position? I mean, is he a professor of demographics at Georgetown? Is he an anthropologist of note? Is he a social researcher of note? No, he's not. He referenced South Africa's small white population, which he claims projects European culture. When the interviewer introduced the topic of oppression of black people, Musk dismissed the notion, saying it never existed. How do you oppress? We gave them work. We fed them. They grew from a tiny group into a huge group. That's not oppression. That's feeding them. You only grow big if you get fed. You only start at 800, become 50 million if you get fed. We fed them, for crying out loud. Enough of this nonsense. Well, okay, first off, facts. Look, I'm not here to abuse Errol Musk, but that sort of rhetoric is not very helpful. First off, let's deal in facts. There weren't 800 black South Africans in South Africa. For instance, when Europeans arrived and set up a permanent station in the Cape of Good Hope, there were no black South Africans present. No Nguni-speaking peoples were there. The Khoi and San were present. The Nguni-speaking peoples were still conquering the Khoi and San further to the east, coming down and making their way towards the Great Fish River when this settlement first took place in the 1600s. So there weren't 800, all right? So is he lumping Khoi and San in with the Nguni-speaking peoples? That's the first problem. Second, there were far more than 800 Khoi and San in the Cape of Good Hope. There were probably 10,000 in that region at the time, floating around that entire area. So that's not helpful. And they become 50 million. There aren't 50 million black South Africans. There are only 43 million black South Africans, roughly speaking, maybe a few more. But let's just get the facts in there. We fed them, for crying out loud. No, you fought endless wars against black groups in South Africa and the Khoi and San, and they fought endless wars against you. You won through conquest. You didn't win, but your ancestors won through conquest, and then they were conquered, unfortunately for you, by the British, and that's the reality here. So let's stick to facts. Hyperbole is not helpful. Elon Musk has not helped the conversation. This will be fuel for months and years for the racists and the black supremacists to use against white minorities because of these stupid comments. I don't understand why this is going on. We never saw the suppression you're talking about. I never saw it happen. Well, a lot of white South Africans didn't see oppression during apartheid because they were cloistered. They were protected. They didn't see this because it was away from them. That will, he said, so Donnie O'Donnell asked him, he claimed the U.S. would be doomed if it were to become a white minority state. That will be a bad thing to happen. Would you want to see the U.S. go down? Why? Oh, you don't like cars, electric cars? You don't like technology or what? What is it? You want to go back to the jungle? Ouch. Of course, the phrase go back to the jungle means, basically civilization ends and things revert to a pre-human state. which is what's meant by that. But of course, this will be twisted immediately into a racial narrative because the word jungle is used, and racist black supremacists in South Africa and white liberals believe that the word jungle is associated with black people. It's not. Most black people in Africa don't live in jungles. They live outside jungles. So, but we know that this is going to be twisted in a heartbeat. Wow. Anyway, so yes, Errol Musk is irrelevant in this discussion. Why was Errol Musk even in the video? I mean, already the bankruptcy of the CNN documentary is exposed by the fact that they had Errol Musk in it. What does Errol Musk have to do with this situation? This is they went to some toothless oaks in the U.S. Who live in the mountains somewhere and interviewed them about white people becoming a minority, and they got exactly what they wanted. They got exactly what they wanted. This entire thing is a hit job, and it was a dishonest, disingenuous effort by CNN. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Well, meanwhile, Peter Fabricius reports that the United States will oppose a G20 leaders declaration, and it should, given that 5 countries' leaders won't be present. 25% of the G20 will not be present. There shouldn't be a leaders declaration. There should not be one. It's ridiculous. U.S. makes it clear it will oppose a G20 Johannesburg leaders declaration. Well, they should. South African G20 summit next weekend is looking increasingly unlikely to issue the usual G20 leaders declaration after the U.S. made it clear that it would oppose anything beyond a chair's statement. Good, and that's how it should be. No business endorsing the garbage coming out of this. And here's the garbage we're talking about. Once again, folks, the purpose of the G20 is to advance the economic interest of its members. It's not to be a beggars club. It's not meant to be an aid society. It's not meant to be a relief society. It's not meant to be anything other than to advance the interest of the global economy for its members. But instead, South Africa wants to turn into the beggars club, and the willing European wusses are going along with this. South Africa has a debt crisis. So what? Momentum from G20 in South Africa. So use the G20 to solve your deadbeat problems. Danny Bradlow has 3 actions he thinks South Africa should take to end its term. Yes, indeed. He wants to leverage the G20. Yes, he does. He wants to take care of it. Yep. 3 actions. He says, first, it should ask a group like the Africa Expert Panel that has established to advise the president to prepare a technical report that identifies and analyzes all the barriers to Africa assessing affordable, sustainable, predictable flows of external development finance. Well, the barriers to finding affordable, sustainable development flows to Africa are Africans who don't pay their debt. We have written off billions and billions and billions of debt to deadbeat countries in Africa. So this is the press release from the government of South Africa in which they created a panel of so-called Africa experts last year. Africa experts. Let's see. And they want to use the G20 to advance South Africa's agenda for deadbeat countries. Trevor Manuel's on it, Joel Netchinitsi, who else? Carlos Lopez. Let's see. South Africa, South. There is, you got Francois Bourguignon, former chief economist of the World Bank, director at the Paris School of Economics, and Esther Duflo, professor at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Alan Hirsch, Nelson Mandela School of Governance, Bright Simmons, president. Anyway, other than Trevor Manuel, 1 or 2 other people on here, this is from March of this year. So they had the presidency for a year, but they waited until March before they created this panel of experts on Africa. And they want to use this panel of experts to fleece the world of money for deadbeat countries. Deadbeat countries. So that's the first step. Second one, South Africa and the African Union should create an African Borrowers Club, independent of the G20. This club would be a forum from which African sovereign debtors can share information and lessons learned about negotiating sovereign debt transactions about responsible debt management. When appropriate, the club can work with regional African financial institutions. So his solution is to create a deadbeats club where they can bemoan the fact that they borrowed money, they wasted it, and now they don't want to pay it back. So that's his second solution. And third, he said South Africa should capitalize on the fact that the impacts of climate, inequality, unemployment, and poverty on Africa's development prospects are now acknowledged to be macro-critical. By whom? Who acknowledges that? I don't acknowledge that. That's just pure fiction. And so within the IMF's macroeconomic and financial mandate, South Africa should call for a review of the IMF's operating principles and practices. I have a better idea. How about the International Monetary Fund no longer loan money to junk bond status countries? Just let them fail. Just let them fail. Let them revert to civil war. Let people just do what they're going to do. And then someone come and clean up the mess afterwards. This ingratitude, these ingrates given billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars they never repaid. HIPC, the heavily indebted poor countries initiative, wiped out the debt for Ghana, for Mozambique, for many other countries in Africa. All they had to do was meet standards for governance, which they failed to do by and large. Enhanced HIPC, freed more debt. Then COVID, more debt was wiped out. More debt, more debt, more debt. One of the reasons why our economies are sucking and suffering is because of all the money we pour into broke-ass countries in the developing world who simply fleece us out of money because of cowards with white liberal guilt. Just beggars. So South Africa intended to use its chairmanship or presidency of the G20 to turn the G20 into a beggar's relief zone. No, no thank you. No thank you. Well, the South African government is trying to put a good face on things as Irani Lamola makes it back from Canada. He's trying to tell us that everything's good. 42 nations and organizations, yes, 16 nations and 40 and the rest are organizations, have confirmed attendance in South Africa. South Africa says it's ready to welcome world leaders to Johannesburg next weekend, and with 42 countries and organizations confirmed to participate in G20 Leaders Summit, the first ever hosted on African soil. Well, given the way South Africa's behaved, hopefully this will be the last one ever hosted on African soil, because they've tried to turn this into a joke. Well, Cameron, you're a bit late to the program. It's 16 minutes in. Now you're going to ask a question about what we talked about in the first 10 minutes. Bad news for South Africans who love a red meat. As South Africa works to contain and treat various outbreaks of foot and mouth disease, which the agricultural ministry has done nothing about, the red meat industry services body has reported another disease. Rift Valley fever has been diagnosed in sheep. Wow. It's a viral zoonosis affecting primarily domestic livestock, causes abortion and death of animals. It can spread to humans by infected animals, usually through contact with the blood or bodily fluids of infected animals or bites from infected mosquitoes. So far, no confirmed cases documented of human-to-human transmission. First identified in 1931 during investigation of an epidemic among sheep in the Rift Valley of Kenya, where it derives its name. Just like Wuhan flu came from Wuhan, just like Ebola from the Ebola River region of the Congo. Yeah, so there you go. There you go. Well, the plane load of Palestinians that landed at OR Tambo is being used as a political cudgel to tell all kinds of fairy tales. No reason to apologize, Cameron. Just confused by why you asked the question, that's all. And I'll talk about it more at the end, okay? Behind the scenes, the mysterious arrival of plane loads of Palestinians into South Africa. This by Rebecca Davis, who gets a pretty accurate article here. She does, but of course she delves into the effort to blame Israel for people who flee from a zone. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been told that Gaza is a disaster, that it's in rubble, that there's no services, that it's horrible, it's unsafe for people. Well, Israel stopped the war, the Sharm el-Sheikh agreement, the U.S. negotiated. Israel agreed to allow Palestinians who wanted to leave the territory to go elsewhere to do so, and they've upheld their end of the bargain. And the proof of the pudding is these two flights that we're talking about that went to South Africa. These people wanted out of Gaza. They paid an exorbitant fee to leave to a group who chartered a flight to get them out of Gaza. They wanted out of Gaza. They all look perfectly healthy, by the way, on the plane. Several military-aged men are in the photographs that we see on the plane and at OR Tambo. They were released into South Africa, and DIRCO has no idea where they are. Home Affairs has no idea where these people are. The first plane load. The second plane load is being supposedly taken care of by Gift of the Givers. But there's a clear effort here to besmirch Israel. For what? For abiding by the terms of a peace agreement that they agreed to? So they're being attacked by a shadowy organization responsible. They didn't know where they're going. They paid to leave. No one went into Gaza and kidnapped these people, took them through the Allenby crossing, drove them to the Roman air base, stuck them on a plane, landed in Nairobi, transshipped them to another plane from South Africa, and then took them to South Africa. No. No, Israelis didn't do that. That was done by them. They wanted out. Many of them didn't want asylum because they wanted to continue on to their family elsewhere, which is what their plan was. So this whole story is a bunch of nonsense and a whole bunch of subterfuge going on here, folks. A plane load of Palestinians from Gaza on a charter flight arrived in South Africa under mysterious circumstance. 7 days of accommodation had been booked for them at Airbnbs and hotels around Johannesburg. Thereafter, they were effectively abandoned. On November 11th, several NGOs led by gift givers went public on the matter. On October 28th, 176 Palestinian refugees had fled the Israeli genocide in Gaza. Mostly family units of mothers, fathers, and children were relocated to South Africa in a manner that raised serious questions about Israeli involvement. So, Gift of the Givers is attacking. I asked Dr. Suleiman to come on. I've not heard back from him. He'll get a chance to air his side of the story if he'd like, but I haven't heard back from him. I have interviewed him previously. But Gift of the Givers came out with this, blaming Israel for the people who paid to leave. I can't speak to what the refugees looked like in the first batch. I never saw photographs of it. There was no big brouhaha about it at the time. People did talk about it, but didn't really get much attention. This second plane load, I can see a lot of military-age men, perfectly fit adults who should have been fighting for Hamas in the war if they were actually, there. So I can't speak to that one, but the Gift of the Givers tried to blame this on Israeli. The Israeli involvement, there was Israeli involvement, folks. There absolutely was Israeli involvement. Israel adhered to the terms of the Sharm el-Sheikh agreement, providing a safe corridor for people who wish to leave Gaza and relocate elsewhere. They did that. They adhered to the terms, so there is Israeli involvement. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. But the false claims by Gift of the Givers that they were intentionally abandoned, they were denied exit stamps, they don't get exit stamps from Israel. Anybody that's ever been to Israel knows that's the case, has been the case for well over a decade. And I was there long before that. It was a problem before that. So people know quite perfectly well that this is all bullshit. And I don't know what Gift of the Givers is up to here, but this is disingenuous to them. Maybe they misunderstood. I'll allow for that, but it sure doesn't seem like they misunderstood. Sure seems like they wish to attack Israel. And so that's what's going on here. In an act of calculated deprivation, Israeli officials forced everyone in the group to abandon their bags, leaving 176 refugees without toiletries, medicines, or clothing except what they were wearing. Well, first off, that is a disingenuous statement, too. It's partially accurate. Apparently, they weren't allowed to take their suitcases at the border crossing, but abandoning their medicine, that's nonsense. People would have put their medicine or should have been carrying their medicine not in their suitcases. You don't put medicine in a suitcase on a flight. Suitcases get stolen. You put it in your carry-on or your personal item, and that's the truth of that matter. So that's just nonsense right there. Anyway, South Africa's Border Management Agency said it was aware of this. So interviews by Daily Maverick with the Department of International Relations official who wished to remain anonymous. Daily Maverick established that Durka was not made aware of the first flight of Palestinian advance, but was tipped off after the fact. The Border Management Agency was aware of it, however, because it was provided with a standard passenger manifest in advance. They appear to have let the first flight of passengers in without question on standard 90-day tourist visas, since South Africa is one of the countries that permits Palestinians to do this. They subsequently disappeared into the country, wrote a Durka official. So anyway. South African government has learned through intelligence that, how do they know this? How does Daily Maverick know that the intelligence services of South Africa have learned this? Does the Daily Maverick have someone disclosing classified information to the media? We need to investigate the intelligence services of South Africa reporting this stuff to the media. It wasn't publicly released. That a second charter flight of Palestinians is scheduled to arrive on the 9th of November, but it was changed to the 14th of November. So the South African government knew in advance, or did they know in advance? It's unclear from that statement. Given the fact that rumors were already swirling among activists about possible Israeli involvement and the possibility Palestinians may not have arrived voluntarily, the decision was made when the plane landed, passengers needed to be interviewed and circumstances of flight established, which is what the real reason was why they weren't allowed in the country for so long. But Israeli involvement. So Israeli involvement is just by default nefarious? Of course the Israelis were involved. They're adhering to the Sharm el-Sheikh agreement. What is the issue here? What is the issue here? Just because Israel's involved? So these people are supposed to die, starve, live in rubble in Gaza? Obviously, they're wealthy enough to get out. What followed were hours of something close to chaos. Activists were made aware that passengers were not permitted to disembark, and videos circulated of passengers being held in the plane. The chaos was created by the social media leftists who were out there causing chaos and carnage about the situation and spreading rumors and innuendo and lying about the situation. Yeah. Gift of the Givers, Sarah Oosthuizen told Daily Maverick it appeared that some had been misled by Al-Majid into believing their final destination was India. Daily Maverick has seen records of accommodation booked by one family in Mumbai. Adding to confusion was a language barrier and the fact that many of the passengers initially seemed to misunderstand the concept of asylum. In an attempt to resolve the impasse, Gift of the Givers volunteered to essentially sign surety for the whole plane, meaning they provide them accommodation. So, Friday night, Leon Schreiber said none of the Palestinians had applied for asylum. He said, once satisfied the absence of certain elements from their itinerary would not leave them destitute in South Africa in the absence of any asylum claims, the travelers are granted entry into South Africa on a standard 90-day visa, subject to compliance with the standard conditions. So here's what Daily Maverick says is a major question. The major question now being investigated is whether Al-Majid is simply a predatory business profiting off people's desperation to flee Gaza, or whether something more sinister is at play involving the Israeli government in a calculated attempt to depopulate Gaza. Seriously? Seriously. 2 plane loads of 300 or 400 Gazans is going to remove 2 million people. This is about as stupid as saying that 10,000 white South Africans going to America is going to change the demographics of America. It's just ludicrous. This is juvenile. I'm sorry, Rebecca Davis. Pretty good article up until this point, but this injection of your opinion is not founded by anything. This is just ludicrous. The major question now being investigated is whether it's simply a predatory business profiting off people's desperation to flee Gaza, or whether something more sinister is at play involving the Israeli government depopulating Gaza. Really, first it was a genocide. So how can you commit a genocide when you simply move people safely from one place to another, adhering to an international agreement? This is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Sorry, Rebecca Davis. I was going to give you kudos for a good report, but you get to this part where you stick your opinion in and stop reporting the news, and it just shows you're off the mark. City Press reported that the flight was designed to arrive during the G20 summit when the world's eyes would be on South Africa, to give the government no choice but to accept the Palestinians or face charges of hypocrisy due to official pro-Palestinian foreign policy position. Well, that's a presumption. There's no evidence to that, but I definitely believe that may be part of the truth. Yep. Anyway. Conspiracy theories are abounding. Yes, including yours, Rebecca. Acknowledge that you also put a conspiracy theory in there. You just put a conspiracy in there. Even among those who support Palestine caused question being asked about why these particular Palestinians were permitted to leave Gaza, with speculation for which there is no evidence about whether the passengers were collaborating with the Israeli regime. Oh, now they're collaborating with Israelis. Isn't it interesting that they can pay for a flight for Palestinians, but they can't help their own? Well, isn't it interesting that the Palestinians have plenty of money, and we were lied to? We were told they were taken there against their will. Really? The only thing that seems to be true on this is that these people came from Gaza. They paid $2,000 to $5,000 per person to get on a flight to leave Gaza. They transited the Allenby crossing point to Ramon Air Base as permitted under the safe corridor by the Sharm el-Sheikh agreement, and that they flew to Kenya and flew to South Africa. Everything else beyond that is just all pure speculation. Just pure speculation. What's the shadowy organization? See, look at Al Jazeera right on cue. Oh, look at those. Mostly women and children. Mostly women and children. And who's taking a picture? 2 military-age young fellows. One of them is a Palestinian ambassador. Not even a country, and it has an ambassador. Yajra Sharma. On Thursday, a chartered plane carrying Palestinians after 12-hour scrambling group was allowed to disembark. Palestinian passengers were charged a hefty sum of money by the organization, which says on the website coordinates evacuations of conflict zones. Officials said 23 Palestinians flew to other countries without adding any more details. Interesting. Israel Haaretz newspaper reported on Sunday the organization is led by a dual Israeli-Estonian national named Tomar Janar Lind. The Daily said that Lind worked with the unit Israeli military charged with the forced transfer of Palestinians to Gaza to facilitate several such flights. The unit, which is named the Voluntary Immigration Bureau, was set up in early 2025 under the Israeli Ministry of Defense to enact a policy of pushing out Palestinians from their homeland. Well, there you go. So unlike speculation, Al Jazeera names names. Is there any merit to it? We'll see. So if they're forcing people out, why were people paying? Why were people paying to get out? I mean, honestly, no one denies that these people pay between $1,500 and $5,000 per person to get out of there. No one denies that. They themselves apparently have said that to the press. The gift of the givers claims that. Everyone claims that. But then they claim that they were expelled. They were forced out. None of them look hungry. None of them look starved. None of them look wounded. I don't see any people here missing limbs from a conflict. Interesting. Also, according to Ronnie Lamola, none of them are refugees. Stick with me a second here. Ronald Lamola and the government of South Africa have repeatedly stated since President Trump opened the program up on the 7th of February to South African racial minorities escaping persecution in South Africa, they said they're not refugees. And he just said it again this week when he spoke to Donnie Sullivan on CNN's fake documentary. So he told Donnie Sullivan that these aren't refugees. They don't meet the standard. But in fact, they do meet the standard, ladies and gentlemen. A genuine fear of persecution based on race, religion, or political views or part of a particular social group. They do, in fact, meet the international definition of a refugee. And they also meet U.S. law. So it doesn't matter what the international definition is. The U.S. is a country taking them in. They meet U.S. standards, just like Congolese, just like Sudanese, just like Uyghurs, just like Rohingya. Yeah, they meet the international, just like gays from Syria. They meet the standard. So it doesn't matter what Ronnie Lamola says. But Ronnie Lamola told us, and the government says, these South Africans aren't refugees. They don't live in tents. They haven't fled the country from a conflict zone. And none of them are registered with the UN. So by that standard, The war is over in Gaza. The only conflict happening in Gaza now is the Hamas murdering innocent people, executing in the streets in public executions. That's the only war going on now in Gaza. So they're not fleeing a war zone. The war is over. If they fled last year, that would have been fleeing. But now the war is over, so they're not fleeing a war zone. They are not living in tents. They landed on a plane. And the third thing is they're not registered with the UN. None of them are UN refugees. So according to the definition the South African government has given us, which, by the way, is not the legal definition, it's not a legitimate definition, it's just poppycock. But hey, since they're going to apply it to South Africans, let's apply it to the Gazans. They're not refugees. Not refugees. Not refugees. Anyway, City Press also runs this story yesterday with the shadowy organization. Ooh. The latest flight, which landed over Tambo in the past week with 153 refugees, was arranged by a dubious humanitarian organization with an address in Jerusalem. Why are they dubious? Did the people not pay to leave Gaza? Did they not leave Gaza? Did they not land safely somewhere? How are they dubious? Did 23 people not go on to destinations they'd already planned to go to? Funny that, ladies and gentlemen. So ask yourself this question. Here's the question, okay? A genuine journalist would ask the following question about this. You ready for this? Okay, the Palestinians that landed in OR Tambo, 23 of them went on to their next destination. Whoa, stop. Went on to the next destination. But we were told they didn't know where they're going. So how did those 23 people land in OR Tambo and get on a plane and go elsewhere? Who knows where? India, Jordan, who knows where they went? How did they do that? Number one, either they have the means, they have the money to buy a ticket with a credit card or cash, okay? So not exactly starving people who are coming from tents in a refugee zone. So that's the first thing. The second thing here, folks, is that how did they get out so quickly? They're already gone the same day. They're all gone. So somebody knew where they were going. And if they did know where they're going, how did they get out of there? Yeah, manufactured mainstream outrage. That's what this is. Manufactured mainstream outreach. So these people went out to a destination. They knew where they were going. Now, the one thing that's interesting about this is the claim that they were forced to leave their baggage at the border. Now, that was treated as an inhumane situation. Well, unfair, yes. Inhumane, no. Israel has been subjected to constant bombings. They don't know the background of these people, do they? They don't know if any of them are terrorists. They're going to kill people. They blow up something at the airbase, they blow up the plane. And yes, you could say they could screen all the material. But we weren't at the scene. We don't know what's happening. So, yeah. Anyway, but the bottom line here, folks, they have money. They want to leave. Why did they choose South Africa? What's the plan? Yeah, exactly. The reason they went to South Africa is because no one else will take them. No one else will take them. I don't know where the other 23 went, but it must be someplace that will take them. But Jordan won't take them. Egypt won't take them. Tunisia won't take them. Libya won't take them. Algeria won't take them. Morocco won't take them. Iraq won't take them. Why? Because the Palestinians have proved to be troublemakers wherever they go. And that's unfortunate for people if they're innocent, but that's reality. Well, a South African police service head confirms that 121 KwaZulu-Natal political killing cases sat idle in Pretoria. Lieutenant General Mary Motsepe, head of the Serious Violent Crime Division, initially denied that 121 execution dockets had been left untouched, but later admitted that they went uninvestigated for about 3 months. Testifying before the Mhlanga Commission today, Motsepe defended her statement by saying inspections and itineraries were done, but not the actual investigations. So, the dockets were transferred from the political killings task team to the national headquarters in March and April of this year on the instruction of now suspended Shadrach Shabia. All these people are being called generals. None of them are generals. They never earned those ranks, and they're clearly just a bunch of clowns. Well, former DA Minister of Fisheries and Forestry, Dion George, has got all kinds of allegations coming out about him now. And I've had some interesting comments on my video telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, fine. But the people making that claim don't know what they're talking about. He faces sexual misconduct claims amid bullying and lavish trips. He took apparently 12 trips, which someone says were not appropriate, but he was never charged. So he took 12 trips abroad during 14 months in office, and he wasn't relieved by Cyril Ramaphosa. And then someone told me he was relieved by Cyril Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa wanted to get him. No, Steenhuisen asked for him to remove. We're hearing all kinds of things. Is this character assassination or is he the rogue? So if it's not character assassination, which it appears to be, all comments coming after the fact. Yes, Light Rain, it means soft poo, poppycock. Yep. So that's why I use the term. It's a polite version to use profanity. So Dion George had no allegations against him, no claims, no charges ever filed about sexual assault, sexual harassment, inappropriate behavior, or being a bully, or this, that, and the other. Also, one of the people accused of supposedly talking over him in meetings denies it ever happened. So is this character assassination? If it's not character assassination, if the allegations against Dion George are actually true, if the things they're saying about him are actually true, ladies and gentlemen, then this begs the question, what sort of vetting process does the Democratic Alliance have? Someone told me on my video comment, said, well, Helen Zilla exposed the truth. Well, I don't know about that. I'm still waiting for Helen Zilla to appear on my program. She offered to come on my program 5 years ago and has yet to come on. And I recently reached out to her PA, and on 3 occasions I have gotten a response back, not yet, we're busy, not yet, we're busy. Yet they go on a channel with 14,000 subscribers, but don't come on my channel, which is very influential in South Africa. Not a boast, but a statement of fact. So until I hear from Helen Zilla, I'm not going to believe the comment that someone posted there. Utter nonsense. Well, can the DA win black support? This from Farrell Haffiji. Farrell is a person who actually is feral. Her conduct is feral. It's reprehensible. It's race-tinged. It's race hustling. And let's see how she frames this question. So she asked this gentleman, Matt Cuthbert, the policy head at the DA Federal Policy Unit, about South Africa. Farrell Haffiji said, with the 2029 national elections in sight, we test whether the DA's empowerment 2029 elections in sight. We just had the 2024 elections. We got 3.5 years to go, sweetheart. We test whether the DA's empowerment rethink resonates with the majority it hopes to attract. Farrell Haffiji put some tough questions to the party's head of policy. Well, it's nice that Farrell Haffiji says that Farrell Haffiji put some tough questions to Matt Cuthbert, but let's listen to the questions she asked. They're not tough questions. They're obnoxious and insulting, nauseating. What makes Blue see so much red about black? Blue being presumably the DA, see red, anger about black being black South Africans. You see the racist comment right there? By this, I mean, why is the idea of black empowerment such anathema to the DA? It's not. The DA has no problem with black people succeeding. This is your racist opinion, Farrell Haffiji. Apartheid and colonialism are close in our rearview mirror. There is no way that just 30 years after the end of apartheid, we are anywhere close to dealing with the economic legacies of a system that is designed to strip people of land, wealth, and opportunity. Actually, that's not what the purpose of the apartheid system was. The effects of that came out that way, but that wasn't the purpose. So get it historically correct, Farrell Haffiji. Stop playing your racist game and lying about the purpose of apartheid. The purpose of apartheid was not the outcome. The outcome was dictated by events and behavior, but that wasn't the purpose. She goes on to say, I don't want to go on about it, but isn't the party position in this position paper flirting with apartheid denialism? Apartheid denialism? Really? Who is denying apartheid other than Errol Musk? Other than Errol Musk? Somebody? Someone want to tell me? First, it hardly mentions the word or its intergenerational impacts. Well, what is the purpose of talking about apartheid when you're talking about the future? An example in the paper says the majority of South Africans were prevented from accumulating intergenerational wealth. My immediate question was, what prevented us from doing so? Natural disaster? What a smartass. What a snarky little turd. Farrell Haffiji is feral. Or the apartheid Leviathan, which was, after all, a system of laws designed to keep black people poor, landless, and in service to the white minority. It's funny you should say keep them landless when a huge chunk of the country was turned over to black South Africans, and many whites were relocated away from Bophuthatswana, Ciskei, Transkei, Venda, and so on. Now, whether those were legitimate, moral, or whatever, it really isn't the question at hand. But to claim landless is utter nonsense. That's utter nonsense. That's historically inaccurate. That's ahistorical. That's just racist propaganda. In service to the white minority. Actually, in service to the white minority, no, the idea was to get rid of them. It was to push them back to places where they had settled, where the Nguni-speaking peoples had settled in large numbers. That's the idea. That's what apartheid was doing, separateness. So you're just, I'm not justifying it, and I'm not even claiming it's even morally right, but she's simply lying about it, and lying about it. Policy paper starts, if we wish to create an economically inclusive, non-racial South Africa, we must address inequalities of opportunity and hard-won political freedoms. She says, nobody can quibble with that, but what I do want to ask is how you define non-racial. You read the seminal text, which never defined non-racialism as being race-blind, but which do understand redistribution diversity as fundamental to the philosophy. Well, redistribution is immoral. It's theft. And if that's fundamental to your philosophy, you're just an immoral thief. Problem solved. Case closed. Thank you, Farrell Haffiji, for being feral. AfriForum says it wants G20 countries to intervene in South Africa. Well, good luck with that. That ain't going to happen. Hang on a second. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So AfriForum seeks G20 countries' intervention on South Africa's property rights and farm murders. AfriForum has called on G20 countries to use the upcoming summit in Johannesburg and subsequent diplomatic engagements with South Africa to urge the government to respect property rights and take stronger action to address farm murders. Well, South Africa is a pariah state. It has violated international norms by abrogating property rights, which is not the norm internationally. States like that, like Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge, Cambodia, and states in Latin America that have dispossessed people of their property have been considered international pariahs. South Africa now has a law in violation of their own constitution. Section 25 requires just and equitable compensation negotiated by both parties. It must be applied. However, South Africa's government has passed a law which is immoral, it's racist, and it's also illegal. And so no one is going to pay any attention to what AfriForum has to say at this conference, unfortunately. Nothing's going to change. The Europeans are perfectly fine allowing South Africa to violate international norms. The G20 road closures will affect Joburg, Tshwane, and Ekurhuleni. Why will it affect Tshwane? It's nowhere near Tshwane. Several arterial and urban routes will experience closures and restrictions. Johannesburg Metro Police spokesman Zolani Fila says multiple roads will be affected by the summit, not only in Joburg, but also in Tshwane and Ekurhuleni. Major national and regional routes will be affected, including N1, N3, N12, R21, R24, the R21, why? And the M1, several, well, I guess going into the loop. Sandton, 5th Street, Mullet Street, Daisy Street, Rivonia Road, Grayston. That must be where they're all staying, and then they're driving all the way down to Nasrec. Wow. Rudaport, 4 ways. Winnie Mandela driving 4 ways. Wow. This is going to be chaos. Utter chaos. Utter chaos, folks. The summit is being held in the southwest corner of Johannesburg, but they're blocking roads all over the city and including in Sandton, miles and miles away from the event. Why is that? Well, do you support the planned protests before the G20 Leaders Summit? That's the question, folks. Do you support it? As South Africa gears up to host G20 Leaders Summit this weekend, various organizations are planning protests to raise awareness about critical issues affecting the country. Really? Advocacy group Women for Change is planning a nationwide shutdown to 21st of November. By the way, let me interrupt here real quick. For some of you who are just tuning in because you saw the title and you want to hear about Elon Musk or Errol Musk, I did talk about it at the beginning of the program, and I will discuss it after I finish the news. So if you're patient, wait along. We'll talk about Errol Musk again. All right? We'll talk about it in a little bit. Okay? Hang in there. So Operation Doo-Doo Head is planning to protest on the day of the summit, demonstrate issues South Africa face, such as poverty and high unemployment. So thank you for voting. I voted. 49, almost 50% of the people who responded to this poll, no idea what the numbers are, say that they will protest. 35% said it's a waste of time. Yeah, 49. So half the people responded to the Times Live say that they're going to protest. Flip Bice from Solidarity has penned an amazing op-ed, which is factual, non-emotional, and lays things out pretty clearly. I don't agree with everything he said here, but it is a very good op-ed. I'm not going to read it to you here. I'll save it for later. But I have asked if Flip is available to come on for an interview, and he lays out many of the things. One of the things I take disagreement with is the issues affecting South Africa-U.S. relations didn't start around 2010. They started as early as 2001. So the Navy chief is upset because the budget's being cut, and he warns defense cuts could threaten South Africa's security. Well, that would be true if the SANDF was capable of defense, but it is not. So I wouldn't lose any sleep. Chief of South African Navy, Vice Admiral Monde Lobesi, has issued a stark warning that decisions to drastically reduce the South African National Defense Force workforce, effectively asking the Defense Force to implement what happened when the Political Killings Task Team was eliminated. They can't do their job. Well, they can't do their job now, so that's just going to make things worse. Here's some good news, folks. Good news for South Africa? Well, maybe. I mean, if you have home there, it's good news. But if you want to buy a home there, it's bad news. So there is a town in South Africa where property values have more than tripled in the last 10 years. Anybody want to guess where it's at? Where have property values tripled in the last 10 years? Somebody want to take a guess? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess? I'll give you a moment to guess on that, and then we'll come back to it. So the controversy over the bullshit red card handed to Franco Mostart in the game against Italy, it gets worse, as now we see a framed moment that Mostart made contact, and you can see that he did not hit him in the head. He was extending his left arm. It's all bullshit. Cape Town, Western Cape, good guesses, but incorrect. It's not Cape Town. Property values have not gone up 3 times in Cape Town. So, Mostart red card shows rugby is a sport in deep confusion and crisis. This story from Craig Ray is spot on. So, let me show you the picture. There is the moment that Franco Mostart tackles Garbisi. Paolo Garbisi. He is bent at the shoulders, over the hips in the correct tackle formation. He is on the side of the player as he's supposed to be in a perfect tackling position. He is extending the left arm, which then gets blocked by the player's arm. So, what exactly is going on here? That is the frame. Why was he given a permanent red card? Why was South Africa forced to play with 14 players in a perfectly legal tackle? A perfectly legal tackle. You see that? World rugby is broken. World rugby is broken. Now it's not Nelspruit. Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. So, the town is Eiserfontein in the Western Cape. Eiserfontein, a small town in South Africa's west coast, has seen its property values more than triple over the past decade. 90 kilometers north of Cape Town, the village has around 1,200 residents and has become notable for its rapid growth in the housing market. Data from Seif Property Group shows that the average home price in Eiserfontein has risen to nearly 4 million rand, doubling over the past 5 years and tripling from around 1.25 million 10 years ago. Recent data from Lightstone shows a year-on-year increase of 12.9%. Wow. The market peaked in 2021 with 280 transactions, but has remained highly active, attracting local and international buyers. Wow. Its beach, one of the longest uninterrupted stretches of sand on the west coast, a small harbor add to the recreational opportunities and aesthetic appeal. Local amenities have grown alongside the property market. The Ocean Village Shopping Center and Spar Supermarket offer convenience. Restaurants such as the newly renovated Beach House restaurant attract visitors with spectacular ocean views and seafood. Short drive from Langebaan and Vredenburg provide large regional malls and medical facilities and additional services. So there you go, folks. Eiserfontein. Eiserfontein. It's boring, Paula. It's boring. I've been to Eiserfontein. I fell asleep. But it's pretty. It's pretty, but it's boring. Congo, the M23 signed a framework for peace in Qatar, but more steps are needed. Well, we know that. The DRC and the M23 rebel group signed a framework agreement on Saturday for a peace deal aimed at ending fighting in the country's east that killed thousands of people and displaced hundreds of thousands more this year. The agreement was signed by representatives on both sides of the ceremony in the Qatari capital of Doha. It was the latest of a series of documents signed in recent months as part of efforts backed by the U.S. and Qatar. By South Africa? Did Ronnie Lamola end the conflict in the Congo? No. The Senda fueled the conflict in the Congo, sending troops there who sold weapons, ran prostitution rings, and also drugs. Yeah. Yeah. South Africa's been in the Congo for 30 years. What have they accomplished? Nothing. But the U.S. under Trump goes in there and gets it solved. Yeah, okay, so they hate Trump because he stops black people from murdering black people. Yeah. Battles in West Kordofan as Sudan army resists the rapid support forces eastward push. Reports of desperate humanitarian situation, atrocities continue. Oh, there you go. Those are refugees. See those, folks? Those are tents. Those are refugee tents. For the gift of the givers, those are refugees. Ronnie Lamola, that's your definition of refugee. Someone in a tent who fled a war zone. And they're probably registered with the UN, so they're probably refugees. Can these people come to South Africa? Can the Sudanese come? Somehow I don't think so. The Sudan army is holding on to its last stronghold in West Kordofan as the paramilitary rapid support forces push to take control of the province. The army said on Sunday it had repelled an attack against its headquarters in the town of Banusa, which has been under repeated attacks from the RSF. But it's crippling and it's collapsing. Wow. Interesting. Well, Pete Hegseth says that the Pentagon is ready to act in Nigeria. Well, that's not good news. Stop that, okay? Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth Friday, the United States must defend persecuted Christians in Nigeria and other parts of the world facing harsh treatment for their beliefs. President Trump has made clear the United States will always defend the right of Christians to freely worship here and at home and around the world. A conservative Christian said in a statement the Defense Department, also called the Department of War, condemns the persecution against Christians that has taken place in Nigeria. Wow. Congress has yet to confirm the new name for the Pentagon. They must approve it under law. So it's still Department of Defense, not Department of War. By the way, so here I have a problem. It is not the role of the United States to defend Christians, Muslims, Jews, Wiccans, Hindus, Buddhists around the world. That is not our role. It's not our role. And to take on such a role would to imply that the government has a role in religion. The government has no role in religion except to allow the free practice of religion in this country, according to the Constitution. Therefore, this is an inappropriate statement by the Secretary of Defense. Don't worry, I was never going to be ambassador to South Africa and never get a position in the Trump administration. So I don't care if they hear me speaking the truth, which I've always done. I will call the administration out when they're wrong. Pete Hegseth is wrong here. Now, having said that, I'm not necessarily opposed to going in and stopping the slaughter in Nigeria. But we have no obligation to protect Christians, nor Muslims, nor Jews. That is not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to protect Americans. People here legitimately, legally here. Not anchor babies, not illegal aliens, but Americans and permanent green card holders. That is our responsibility. Germany has lifted restrictions on sending military hardware to Israel. What? Berlin had placed a ban in August on exports of equipment that could be used in Israel's attack in Gaza. Germany announced November 17th it's lifting restrictions on exports of military equipment to Israel now that a ceasefire is in place. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, spokesperson Sebastian Hiller, stated the embargoes will be lifted on November 24th. Wow. So Germany is happy to sell weapons to Israel now that there's a ceasefire, which means Israel can rearm. Interesting. But they blame America for all this stuff. Hamas rejects foreign guardianship of Gaza. The United Nations Security Council set to vote on the U.S. resolution detailing the International Stabilization Force outlined in Trump's ceasefire. Hamas spokesman has told Al Jazeera the group rejects the presence of foreign military personnel in Gaza, saying it would be exchanging Israeli occupation for foreign guardianship. So you see, Hamas doesn't want peace. Any excuse to continue murdering people. Any reason to continue murdering people. Trump will host the Saudi Crown Prince. The visit comes, the U.S. considers selling F-35s to Saudi Arabia. President Trump is set to receive Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman tomorrow in an effort to deepen relationships between the United States and Saudi Arabia. Well, Bangladesh is asking India to hand over Hasina, former minister Kamal. Bangladesh urged India money to extradite former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and former Interior Minister Azabudduzzaman Khan Kamal after both were sentenced to death for their role in the crackdown against student uprising last year. Dhaka said New Delhi was obliged to do so under an extradition treaty. Wow, we'll see. So Bangladesh has a political trial and they want to execute the former Prime Minister. Wow, and Interior Minister. Voters in Ecuador vote against the return of foreign military bases. 90% of ballots showed two-thirds of voters reject the proposal to host foreign military bases. Voters in Ecuador have rejected a proposal to allow the return of foreign military bases, according to early referendum results with a count of close to 90% of ballots. It was a blow to President Daniel Noboa, who said foreign cooperation, including shared or foreign bases in the country, is central to fighting organized crime. In a separate measure to convene an assembly to rewrite the Constitution, also had more than 61%, 88% of the votes counted. So they don't want to rewrite the Constitution either. And he said, we'll respect the will of the Ecuadorian people. The rejection blocks the United States military from returning to an airbase at Manta on the Pacific coast, once a hub for Washington's anti-drug operations. Interesting. They wanted to reduce the National Assembly from 151 to just 73 representatives, but that has failed. So Ecuadorians have spoken. The Supreme Court in the United States will review a Trump policy of turning away asylum seekers at the border. Oh, look at that. So now I've reached my limit. CNN is now behind a paywall. I already read the article, so screw that. The CNN is now behind a paywall. They started a couple days ago, just magically didn't inform anybody. They went behind a paywall. So people will stop watching their crap. No one's going to pay for CNN. We know it's fake news. If you saw the documentary last night, you know that to be the case. CNN is reporting that the Supreme Court will review a first-term Trump policy of turning away illegal aliens at the border who are falsely claiming asylum, forcing us to pay for them and keep them in the country where they disappear and stay here for years on end, driving down wages, operating illegally, murdering, raping, pillaging, and just, fading into society, amongst other things. Yep. Donald Trump is backing a release of the Epstein files. Wow. So they've been arguing and attacking Trump over the Epstein files for months. And Trump said, release them. The Democrats ran out of things to go after Trump for. Their big election victory wasn't a big election victory. It was actually just what was expected. Virginia, New Jersey, New York City, Prop 50. These are all Democratic blue strongholds, all of which were expected to easily go, and they all went easily for Democrats. And they tried to turn into a big win for Democrats. There was no big win. That's utter nonsense. So when that didn't get the flame and fire they thought it would, they could ride on that for a while. Now they're saying that, well, oh, gosh. Trump and Epstein. Democrats illegally released a number of emails that had been protected and kept from the public. They weren't part of the 4 times that the Trump administration has released documents. By the way, how many times did the Biden regime release the Epstein files? In 4 years that they had to release the Epstein files, how many times they released it? Zero. The Trump administration released files 4 times. Yet people run around and say Trump is hiding stuff. Well, here's the problem with that. Trump says, release the files. Release the Kraken. Epstein is dead, said Field. President had urged House Republicans to reject the proposal, but faced defections with the GOP. President Trump threw in the towel and dissuading House Republicans from backing measure to release the files, according to them. Actually, he said, go vote for it. So the first sentence here says Trump threw in the towel, trying to stop them from doing it. When, in fact, actually, the story here is House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. It's time to move on from this Democratic hoax. Yep, there you go. It amounted to a sharp reversal from Trump, who had sought for months to deter Republicans from supporting measures, but a last-minute push wasn't getting results and risked calling even more attention to the matter. So there's nothing to it. So Trump said, just let it go. There you go. This is brilliant. Donald Trump. But his critics already scoffing, saying, well, see, Trump says, first off, Biden never released any Epstein files. None. 4 years, 0 files. 4 years, 0 files. The Epstein, the Democratic regime never released, the Justice Department never released anything. 4 years. Trump has released documents 4 times to the public. 4 times to the public. They've released tens of thousands of pages of documents, everything except the grand jury testimony, to my knowledge. Everything. Yet they continue to attack Trump. And he's finally had enough of it. He said, so fine, just release the files. Release the Kraken. Critics scoff, and then they scoff at him. Look at this. His sudden shift and show of support for a coming House vote has been met with skepticism from his critics. On the left, Chris Coons says he suspects Trump is bluffing. The Delaware Democrat urged Monday the president will ultimately lean on the Justice Department ongoing investigation into late Jeffrey Epstein ties as a reason to keep the record sealed. My hunch is Attorney General Pam Bondi, having just been ordered on social media by the president to open an investigation in a series of high-profile Democrats, will promptly say, no, there's an ongoing investigation. We can't disclose any of this. Thomas Massey of Kentucky, and frequent Trump foe, helped force the House Speaker Mike Johnson to schedule a vote, also warned that Trump may be using investigations of Democrats to stall the release. So even Trump says release the files and supports that they come out with excuses. Well, Trump says he's willing to meet with New York's Islamist mayor-elect Mamdani to work something out. Wow. Trump is really starting to piss off the Make America Great crowd. Wow. Donald Trump said November 16th he plans to meet with New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani to work something out, signaling that he may be open to working in relationship with self-described Democratic socialists. The mayor of New York, I will say, would like to meet with us, and we'll work something out. Okay, well, see, that's a very different statement. The story in the Epic Times makes it look like Trump is willing to go to Mamdani, but Mamdani wants to talk to Trump. So Trump says, we'll listen. That should have been the story. It should have been the story. So Mamdani begs for a meeting with Trump, and Trump says, okay, we'll give you time. That's what the story should have been. Border Patrol fans out across Charlotte, North Carolina, nowhere near our border, but where criminal aliens are in our midst. 81 arrests take place. Send it this weekend, searching for immigrants. They're not immigrants, New York Times. They're criminal alien invaders. Immigrants in the country illegally. You cannot be an immigrant if you enter the country illegally. Immigrants are people with legal status to be in a country. They've come there abiding by the laws of the country. Therefore, they are considered immigrants if they plan to settle there and they have the permission of the country. These are criminals who invaded our country, violated our sovereignty, and have no right to be here. They're not immigrants. Not immigrants. A flea market that's typically filled with Hispanic vendors was canceled this weekend. Nightclubs that play reggaeton music on Saturday nights decided not to open, and Catholic churches, which tend to have many immigrant parishioners, were unusually empty. Yeah, well, it's because Operation Charlotte's Web caught 81 illegal aliens, and they'll be sent back to their countries of origin. Where they belong, ladies and gentlemen, where they belong. For the 711 people here who've waited patiently, if you want me to get back to Errol Musk's story, I will do that. We'll do that now. CNN interviewed Errol Musk, and he didn't help the situation. He put fuel on a fire by taking an old apartheid raised era, privileged elite white South African, and using him as an example to tarnish white people. That's what CNN intended to do. That's what they accomplished. That's what they accomplished. This is what they wanted to do, and this is what they did. We fed them, for crying out loud. Errol Musk denies black oppression during apartheid. So he is exactly what Pharaoh Hafaji would like to see, which she claims the DA and all white people are, essentially, is their apartheid denialists. Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, on the program, while we got 700 people here, I will have Ernst van Zyl from AfriForum on a major breaking story. There is a major international release tomorrow by AfriForum, and I will not say anything more. In fact, I will tell you what the title of the program is going to be, and it's an explosive AfriForum report documenting persecution of minorities in South Africa. Tomorrow. Ernst van Zyl will be on the program tomorrow. I'm just waiting for him to confirm the time. It should be at my normal, it'll be later than my normal news time. So we're looking for that tomorrow. Ernst van Zyl, spokesman for AfriForum, will be on the program, and we'll be talking about an explosive report that will be released tomorrow. Well, I don't know what time yet, Joan, because we agreed at 6 p.m., but for some reason that's an issue. I don't know if the report isn't being released before 6 p.m. or it's too soon or too late. I've written back to him, and I'll do it at whatever time he wants to do it, okay? Every time he wants to. Miss V, thank you for the 100 Rand Super Chat. Clouds are gathering. Yeah, please become a subscriber if you're not one. But Errol Musk, folks, walked right into the bear trap of CNN's set. Now, I didn't walk into the bear trap. Did anybody watch it? Did you see me in it? I was told I wasn't in it. I have it recorded. I haven't watched it yet. So the CNN documentary, I haven't watched it. I recorded it last night because I didn't want to be bent out of shape. I'll probably watch it later today. Yeah. You will watch it or you have watched it, Andre? Robin Ernst today, those interested in Truth Report. What? What are you saying? So Ernst was on the Truth Report today? Well, I watched the video work, people. I heard what he said. It was shocking. Yep. So CNN. Okay. So did they talk about the report, Joan? Because I was told I had an exclusive. Apparently, I didn't get an exclusive then. Oh, Ernst. Oh, no. Okay, wrong. Wrong Ernst. Okay, I don't want Ernst van Zyl. Did I say Ernst? Ernst van Zyl. Okay, Ernst van Zyl. Not Ernst, it's Ernst van Zyl. I don't know that it's posted online there, Amanda. I watched it live on a broadcast. I think you have to pay to get to CNN to see the documentary. James says, I don't care to watch it. If you've been removed by default, we know the truth is out the window. Exactly. See, there's your indicator right there, ladies and gentlemen, about the CNN report. So let me recount what happened. Which one? I did say Van Zyl. Yes, it's behind a paywall to my knowledge. You guys are confusing me. I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, so back to the story with Errol Musk. Errol Musk was interviewed by Donny O'Sullivan, a journalist who I met, who interviewed me. He's the father of tech billionaire Elon Musk, and he made some controversial statements. When asked about apartheid, he says, how do you oppress? We gave them work, we fed them. They grew from a tiny little group into a huge group. That's not oppression, that's feeding them. You only grow big if you get fed. You only start at 800 and become 50 million if you get fed. We fed them, for crying out loud. Enough of this nonsense. We never saw this oppression you're talking about. I never saw it happen. Anyway, then Donny O'Sullivan asked him a question. Then Donny O'Sullivan asked him a question about, what happens when America becomes, whites aren't a majority in the country anymore in 20 years. Huh? You got the name wrong. I have no. Now you guys are just confusing all over the place. Anyway, so let's get back. So for those who don't know, 700 people still here. I don't know where you can watch it, Saving Private Ryan. I told everybody for a week that it was going to be on at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 3 a.m. South Africa time on CNN. on Anderson Cooper. It's behind a paywall now. I don't know where you can watch it at. For the 702 people still here, I don't know where you can watch it at. It's behind a paywall. But to recount the story, in July or June, CNN contacted me and asked me if I would be willing to participate in a documentary they were doing about South Africa in advance of the G20. It would be aired the week before the G20. I said, what's the documentary about? I was a little leery because it's CNN. And they said, we want to talk about South Africa's situation now, politically, where things are at, economically, what's going on with minorities there, and also its international relations with the U.S. And I'm like, okay, those are things I can talk about authoritatively. And he said, we also want to touch on the refugees. Okay, but it's not a refugee program. Well, that's what they told me. So they paid for my flight. They paid for my accommodation to take me down to Birmingham, Alabama. I initially asked, you want me to come to Atlanta? You want me to go to D.C., to your bureau there? And they said, no, let's just, we're going to save time by having you come to Alabama. What I didn't know is they were going to go around and find toothless oaks in the hills of Tennessee or Alabama or wherever they went and get people who have this so-called white fragility and use it as an example to display how white people in America feel about black folks, which is just total bullshit. Total bullshit. Also, when they interviewed, it was supposed to be a 45-minute to 1 hour interview with Earl Langton, because of course you got to realize it's an hour program. Take the commercials in there so they can make a little bit of money, and you're going to have about 38 minutes of footage because there's going to be an introduction by Anderson Cooper, then Donnie O'Sullivan's going to set up his thing. So you're going to get about 35 minutes, 38 minutes of actual footage of interviews. And in that 38 minutes, I didn't make it, and that's fine with me because they interviewed Earl Langton for an hour and 45 minutes. I was told to be 45 minutes to an hour, so I had to stand around for an hour and 45 minutes while they interviewed him, and I listened to Donnie O'Sullivan set him up with questions about genocide and things like that. Other than that, it was a pretty fair interview, but obviously he was looking for his gotcha moments. I see the devious nature of these journalists. They're not seeking answers. When I talk to people, I'm seeking answers and feedback. I don't sit there and pretend to listen and go along with it with a person just to throw a gotcha question out there that I'm going to use in a video. That's just bullshit, and that's what CNN did here. I watched it unfold, folks, for an hour and 45 minutes. So I was supposed to be interviewed. So we left there. I had the producer with me in the rental car that I paid for. We drove to a spot in a little town nearby, and we went to a school. It was loud. There was a mower or a generator running in the background. It was very they wired me up. We sat under an overhang for a picnic table. The lighting was atrocious because of the sun and the shadow from that. And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking this. And they're like, okay, it's okay. Our cameraman can do well with this. I'm like, okay, whatever. So he started asking me questions. And the questions he asked me were, basically along the lines of what gives Trump the authority to bring white people over here. I said, well, first off, he's not bringing white people. And I got a puzzled look. I said, if you go to the U.S. Embassy website, it says very clearly that it's for racial minorities suffering from unjust racial persecution. Racial minorities. I can attest that there are already Indians and coloreds who came in the first couple batches came over. In fact, the first 59 had coloreds in the first flight and Indians. So I told him where to find the information, and then he didn't like that answer, so he kept probing and probing and probing. We went on for about 20 minutes or so. It might have been a little bit longer. I don't remember exactly because I was uncomfortable. You don't put a person you're interviewing in an uncomfortable situation. Do you know you put in an uncomfortable situation where there's noise, distractions, where it's uncomfortable, where it's hot? Do you know you put in that situation people you're interrogating? As someone who's interrogating people as a law enforcement official, that's what you do to someone you're interrogating. That's what they did to me, CNN. They put me in a position that was very uncomfortable. It was very difficult to focus on what was going on. But the problem for CNN is that I'm not some rube, some babe in the woods. You didn't get your gotcha moment with me. No. Now you can edit things and make it look you gotcha moment, but I never once lied about what's going on. I never once went with the narrative that he wanted to go with. It was obvious to me that I would not wind up in the documentary. When I came back, I told people, I said, well, don't expect me to be in the CNN documentary. And I told my viewers, why I want to be in documentary? Because I didn't say what they wanted me to say. I didn't tell lies. I was true. I was faithful to the truth. That's the bottom line. I was faithful to the truth. And that's the bottom. They don't like that. They don't want to hear that. So, they talked, he said, well, why white South Africans? I said, well, it's not white South Africans. And besides, no one batted an eye when 300,000 Ukrainians flooded in our country in the last 3 years. They're white. Yeah, so, look, the whole thing is just nonsense. It's a disgrace. Rupert and Parliament are paying DSTV because CNN propaganda is available on the cheapest plan. Well, it's available on most cheapest plans because nobody can get money for their crap. There's zero chance that Suleiman will grant a critical interview. Well, I won't. Even Zapiro is not captured by cancer cabal. Well, Zapiro has been captured by the cancer cabal for 20 years. He's always been a fraud. So his things are always obnoxious, insulting. They're not even comic or funny. They're very poor political commentary. As far as Suleiman, Suleiman has given me a question before, but I don't think he will this time. But I've spoken to him many times about the collapsed building in George, about Citrus Doll, and he's put me in touch with people. So I will not put any gotcha questions to Suleiman. I'll just ask him the questions that he's talked about and ask him, that's so I have no intention to embarrass Suleiman. That's not my role here. And if I do get an interview with him, people accuse me of not asking the hard questions. Well, you got to be smart about how you do these things. We the poor people wait for a pirated version of CNN documentary. No matter what he said, journalists are going to twist his words. Well, Virtual Western Cape, they didn't have to twist Errol Musk words. He twisted himself. Why is an Irishman interviewing South Africans for an American channel? Yeah, exactly. Why? You listen to how he says South Africa. It's like he's like a 6-year-old. It's pathetic. Corrupt News Network. Agreed 100% with that. People are dropping off like flies now. Where are you all going? It will be available on Max today for the guys in the USA. What the heck is Max? What is Max, Gideon? Anderson Cooper, you put yourself in this. No, Holden, I didn't put myself in this because I didn't make it into the documentary because I didn't want to hear the truth. You can't handle the truth. Listen, guys, so why did I do it? Well, I took them at face value, but I was cautious, and that's why I was prepared and why I didn't let myself be trapped on this thing. So here's the bottom line. This is what I got out of it. I got out of it a free flight to Birmingham, Alabama, an opportunity to meet with refugees in person in the United States for the first time. I then followed up in Twin Falls, meeting with more refugees, and I'll be going to North Carolina and elsewhere to meet refugees, and also here in Pennsylvania, hopefully soon. But I got a free flight. They paid for it. Also, they paid for my accommodation. Now, I paid for the rental car because I plan to go all over the place. But yeah, I got that. So that's not all I got. I got to interview the refugees. I got to meet them. And I got some content out of that, which is fantastic. In addition, I now know what CNN claimed they were making this video for. So I don't know what they told other people, but I know what they told me. And what they told me was dishonest. It was disingenuous. This is not a documentary about South Africa on the verge of the G20. This is an anti-white racist screed based on the trailers that they put out. Based on the trailers they put out, that's the intent of the documentary. So I have inside information on what they told people. At least they told me. And if they lied to me, what did they tell other people? So Holden, it was a perfectly good move on my part. Robert interviewed Ernst Rhodes. Okay. Yep. Errol Musk is a perfect candidate for the lefty Irish reporter. Yep, exactly, Maze. Yeah, no, CNN can't pay the bills. That's right. Finally got back on chat, but ads seem to screw up chat. Wow, that's odd. Trust Earl is prepared to hand over all his property to the comrades. But I like James DeWall's statement. We don't care to watch it, Colonel. If you've been removed, then by default we know the truth is out the window. Yep, I agree. So sick of these haters supporting farm murders, corruption, race laws, looting. It's like apartheid on the players' level if benefits change. Chris, and briefly, there's an article about your interview with Earl Lang. For once, they didn't badmouth you if you read it correctly. Where's the article, Krista? That's not very helpful. Where are you seeing that article at? Please tell me what publication. Okay. Where is the article, Krista? Please tell me. You still here? Please tell me where the article is. I'd like to see it. Okay. Sorry, I only got late. Good Robin Earth Day. Okay. Slowly taking away all our rights, no right to protect ourselves, living in fear every second day, just getting worse. Sorry to hear that, Ad Corp. I think I should write a book on the Angolan War from my perspective, and if I'm successful, use the money to really case the immigrants, really test this country. Snap, why not? Lots of books are written out there. Why not? Your super chats are not moderated, Ms. V. What are you talking about? They're not moderate, and no one has deleted any comments from anyone here in the chat. Not my moderators. Oh wait. There's one. I'm sorry. One was. Okay. Well, I can't see what the hell that message. Oh, okay, that's why. Oh, Jan Kutza used all caps. Jan Kutza is a member. He should know better. You can't use all caps. So one message was removed by my moderator. Miss V, that's the one. Herman Lombard, let the truth be told. Yep. The world must know. Yeah, the Epstein donated lots of money to Democratic campaigns and was a huge Democratic supporter. That's why they didn't want the things released. Yep. But they blame Trump. We'll see. What's this air defense deal that Ukraine signed with France? I haven't seen that. Simply don't care. Even if they're not Christians, they're killed for simply not being Muslim. Correct. Well, they also kill Muslims. Just make sure they're Ecuadorian. None of the other nation states' banana prices skyrocket. Beulah Reichert, how's it going? My heart bleeds for the Christians in Nigeria, says Rex. Quick investment tip for the day. Ecuadorian banana prices get inflated every time a conflict breaks out in Africa. SADF did manage to increase their numbers in the Congo, but SANDF, Matthew, not SADF. SADF disappeared 30-some years ago. What about a 1,500 square meter plot in Clifton? Ooh, that's expensive. Fontaine, every half hour, nothing happens for an hour. LZ Funroy and spot on. Fontaine, every half hour, nothing happens for an hour. I love it. It is lovely but boring. Also heard that lady said she and her wife. What the? Oh, yeah, Rebecca Davis. Yeah, she's a lesbian. Not that it's related to the story. Not that it's related to the story. Okay, let me see if Krista gave me an update on where she saw that article at. Okay, I sent you an email. Oh, okay. I'm curious where that's at now. Oh, you sent me an email like I'm looking at WhatsApp. Silly me. Silly boy. Tricks are for kids. Okay, let me get to my Google. Okay, Gmail. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, let me bring it over here. Nobody's cleaning up after you. I've never heard of this publication, but let's see. It's published today, so here we go. Oh, that's not what I want. I want this one. Here we go. An Afrikaner refugee sat down with retired U.S. Army Colonel to share what life is really like in Alabama after joining the refugee program. The refugee, who has been in Birmingham for 3 months, explained that refugees need to work hard to build their lives from scratch. South Africans flooded the comment section with message support, many saying they couldn't wait to start working in America. Retired U.S. Army Colonel Chris Wyatt sat down with Errol Musk, one of the original 59ers who arrived, to give people an honest look at what life is really like. The video was shared on August 3rd on Wyatt's YouTube channel with the caption, an update on South African refugees in Alabama at conversations with Errol Langton. Errol Langton has been in America for just over 3 months, made it clear that refugees don't get special treatment many people assume they would. I know there's a lot of people out there going, but I was promised so much, and Trump was supposedly stealing all the farmers South Africa so you can have farmers in America. You're not going to get a car. They're not going to buy a farm. You're farming tractors. He explained that after 2 months, they had to start paying their own rent and supporting themselves. It's your name on the lease. It's not the U.S. government's name on the lease. You're the one getting evicted. He also mentioned that he's already on his second job working as a manager at a car wash, joking about the stereotype of South Africans becoming car guards in America. Wyatt pointed out that Birmingham has an unemployment rate below 4%, with a recent job fair offering 10,000 positions in the area alone. The current economic climate shows plenty of opportunities for those willing to work hard. Langton has strong words for South Africans looking to come over or those already arrived. Africans have had their hand out to the rest of the world for decades. If you play the victim card, you will not fit in. Take the opportunity you've been given, work hard, and you can open any door. He advised new arrivals to take any job they can get at first, even if it pays less, to understand how American society works and builds networks. Take the $15 to $18 jobs so you can get an understanding of how society works, and I promise you, you'll be earning better money within a year's time. The interview took place at Langton's apartment complex, which has 2 swimming pools and is surrounded by trees. These places are nicer than almost every place I've lived my entire life, Wyatt said. It's true. It's true. It's true. The apartment complex he lives, I'm a retired colonel. I've lived in 16 countries. And the apartment complex where he lives, now it's a bit old. It's been around probably for 30 or 40 years, but it's nicer than most places I've lived in my entire life. That's a true statement. That's a true statement. Social media users who viewed YouTube on Colonel Chris Wyatt's YouTube page shared their happiness for the Afrikaner man. Anyway, oh, there's the video. They gave a link to my video. There you go. Look at that, folks. Wow, look at that. Briefly.co.za. Narissa Naidu. Wow. Narissa, that's well done. That's journalism. That's journalism. Look at that. See, there's truth there. Now, you can disagree with what Earl said in his conclusions. That's fair. But that's an actual portrayal of what actually happened. That's really good. Well done. Thank you for that. Huh, that's good. Let me send that to Earl real quick. Copy. Only heard the first 10 seconds and already mad about the way they put the interview in bad light. Are you talking about the CNN report? I think Trump saw the Epstein files were going to be released and most of his Republicans were going to vote for them and that he has lost. Now he tried to turn. Well, Vernon, you may be correct about that, but if he has something to hide, why would he even budge? I mean, what's he going to do with that? Yeah, they gave me credit, but it's about time. Good news, got first call today. As soon as I get there, I'll interview. Well, okay, thanks, Reno. Appreciate that. See, Patriot Confederacy have an interview with Will, South African refugee tomorrow. I'll send you. Oh, yeah. No, Mad Max, that's Willem. That's the guy in Twin Falls. Yep. So, yeah, they said they were going to do that. I was teasing about taking my refugees. Yeah, that's happening tomorrow. I didn't know it's tomorrow. Okay. Great reference article and briefly off to TV. Have a great evening. Thank you for being here, Joan. Okay. You're welcome for the news. Okay, you may be right, Vernon, but it really doesn't matter because he turned it on his head. Smart of him. See the video of Epstein's text to a member of Congress coaching her what to ask him at hearing. No, I didn't see that. See, that's not being pushed. Yep. If Black Friday was called White Friday, there would have been all kinds of protests. Exactly. Their NEC meeting is wonderful, and Rama challenged them to ask him to step down if he will do that tomorrow. I don't think so. Fabian wants to write a book of what he saw in the SAPs. That'd be great. Send you an email. Okay, thank you, Krista. All of you must stay safe. Colonel, thank you for your input. You're welcome, Sneb. Have had ads on YouTube stop videos before loading. I think the player crashed, so it takes too long to load. Yeah, no, Mace. In fact, I said that in my video. If you watched my video, I said, because he talked about America will be, America will be a minority. White people won't be a majority in just 2 decades. What do you think of that, Mr. Musk? My comment back to the journalist is, well, Ireland is already not a white majority company in next 5 minutes. You'll be a minority in your own country in 5 minutes. What do you think of that, buddy? Well, I get some of that Guinness there. And in the next 5 minutes, Ireland will be a minority white country. I'm embellishing. He should keep out of politics. Yeah, I don't know why he gave an interview to CNN. That doesn't make any sense. They tried to use my name for the CNN thing. They got botched. Yep, because I'm honest. Exactly. Yep. I think we do a great job interviewing the Irish leprechaun. Exactly, Philip Holtz. I got first-hand experience with fake news, and I got a free ride. I got a good deal out of it. Got a good deal out of it. Colonel Jessup, you can't handle the truth. Who's a douche, Odins? CNN is very left, almost off the chart for the Democrats in America. They're exceptionally biased. Yep. Well, I don't know that anybody from CIA is working at CNN, but what does it matter? Why do people... Guys, I've worked with the CIA. You guys kill me. You kill me. And people all over the world, especially South Africans in politics. The CIA. The CIA is incredibly incompetent. They really are. They really are. And they're a very hidebound institutional organization. I've worked with the CIA. Now, that doesn't mean they don't have great operators. They have some good analysts, some excellent analysts, and they have some excellent operators. But as an organization, it's a typical bureaucratic organization. U.S. military-industrial complex. No. Yep. CNN is trying to wag the dog. Yep. You are right about that. You are right about that. Chaos in the interviews today. 8 families were not helped after they were told to be there. Some from Durban and Nelspruit because they haven't received email. Wow. No, Rex, it doesn't mean that at all. So stop right there. Stop right there, Rex. Rex is on. Stop right there. You're saying if you didn't receive the email, don't go. If you were told a location, a date that you're supposed to be somewhere, or you were told to be in a town, if you're told to be in Pretoria or Joburg and Cape Town on this date, and you don't go, well, you run a real risk because, like I've said, over 90% of the people who contacted me in the past few weeks that situation happened to, my advice was, well, if you can get there, go. And almost all of them have received the email late that evening when it was too late to take off and go to a place across the country, or they got it early next morning when they're supposed to be there. So, I mean, that's not the lesson to be learned. The lesson to be learned here is somebody needs to clean up the mess in the American embassy. This is unacceptable. Earl likes the spotlight. Which Earl? Earl Langton or Errol Musk? Which one? Which Earl are we talking about here? Okay, my chat is not up to date. There we go. Why is it not? There we go. I need to find that comment there, which you just put there. So Mad Max at 12:26. There it is. Wow. All right. Sent you WhatsApp yesterday regarding the meetings. The printed emails serve as the gate key. That's what I said. That's the advice I gave people, Chris Wyatt. Print the email out that they sent you. That's your key to get in. See, Vernon also received his email when he was en route to Pretoria for first, second interviews and also with the medicals. See, there you go, folks. Johan Barnard, see you later. Thanks for being here. Yeah, so you need to be careful about that, what you're saying there. I haven't been red-pilled. Listeners, I'll watch them again. Well, isn't red pill the good one? Blue pill's the bad one. Where are people watching the CNN? I thought it was only available in the U.S. It was on CNN. It's on Anderson Cooper. I don't know where people are watching it. I didn't see your message, Chris Swanepoel. Here in South Africa, it's always CIA's fault. I know, Virtual Western Cape. CIA is guilty of everything. If it's not the CIA, it is, of course, Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger's to blame for everything. Right? Kissinger's the guy. People here is an easy fail-safe method to prevent that. Record your phone call that you get to book the interviews. Take the recording with you in case. Well, if you were able to do that on your phone, of course you should record it. Who the hell is Franklin, Nebraska? Do you mean where is Franklin, Nebraska? Is that what you're asking? I don't know who Franklin, Nebraska is, but I mean, where it is, that's a different story. It is a city in Nebraska. Okay? And it is in the middle of frickin' nowhere. Frickin' nowhere, ladies and gentlemen. Franklin, Nebraska. Yep, so you ready for this? Are you ready? See how small that town is? See how small that town is? See how small that town is. It just disappears. We haven't even got out to the full state size yet. Look at that. We still haven't got to Nebraska. You haven't seen, now you see the boundaries of the state. There you go. That's Franklin, Nebraska. I got my email just the nick of time. Another couple got theirs as they stopped by the gate. Exactly. Thank you, Madden. That's exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. If you know the town to go to, and if you happen to know where to go, then go. I mean, if I were in your shoes and I was told, they called me, you need to be in Pretoria on Friday, 7:30. You'll get the email to tell you the location. If I was told that, I would be in Pretoria Thursday night, and I'd be hanging out on the street, parked outside the American Embassy at 6:30 in the morning or 7 o'clock, so you don't attract attention on the morning of the event. That's what I would do. Or I'd be at McDonald's. That's a better spot. You're not getting any trouble sitting at McDonald's. I would sit at McDonald's at the end of Schoeman. Francis Bard. That's what it is. Francis Bard. Schoeman. I would be down there at that McDonald's, parked down there, getting an egg McMuffin, eating something, and I'd wait for that message. And as soon as I got it, I'd diddy mow on over there. That's what I would do. Now, if I was told to go to Joburg, I would be hanging out near the Santon Shopping Center. Park in the garage, hang out there, be there at the same time in the morning, wait. And then the message comes, go there. You're only a few minutes away. If I was in Cape Town, I have no idea where they're going to do this, but I would probably, that's a tough one because if they do it in town, you're screwed. You're never going to get there in time because of traffic. Yeah. Quite a few that did that were turned away today. Well, I don't know what to tell you, Chris. Don't know what to tell you. Interviews already booked and paid for place to stay. We're not going to venue whether we have email or not. Not taking chances on missing out on interviews. Or you're going whether you yeah. Well, Loretta, I'm with you on that one, and I understand that. Well, then I got you. Well, if you're not allowed to record it, then don't record it. then write down what they say. All right? Well, I don't know. I don't take these phone calls. I don't take them. No one's called me. So don't record it. You're not allowed to record it. Don't record it. Well, then they're screwing up royally here. G9 Samsung. Well, don't record then. Oh, just delete the call when I saw it. Okay. Then don't record it. Then don't record it. Then don't record it. Why you guys keep saying you're told not to record it? I said don't record it. Let's move on. Tyrone Rekus from Florida is a South African. Well, welcome to America, however long you've been here. 5 minutes, 5 years, 15 years, however long it's been. Well, last week, people that did not get email were still let in. They checked the system, let them through. Exactly, Betty. Wrong finger. Okay, Sons shows submitted. Anyway, so Franklin, Nebraska is in the middle of frickin' nowhere, folks. Middle of nowhere. It has a population of 941. You might as well be in the Karoo. Tyrone says 15 years. Well, I was close. I said one of those, didn't I? I said 15 years. Well, if you have the address and they told you when to be there, then you have what you need. There's no embassy in Tokai. No such thing. No such thing. We have one embassy in South Africa. It's located in Hatfield. We have consulates in Durban, Joburg, and in Cape Town. But we do not have an embassy in any location except for Pretoria, Hatfield. Yeah, do what's asked. Don't overthink it. People do overthink things. They really do. Yeah, it happened to you for both interviews. Husband wrote the locations down. Exactly. What major government scandal? What possible government scandal could there be in Franklin, Nebraska, Holden? Oh, consulate. There you go, Sean. Consulate. Tokai. I don't know where Tokai is. Is that Santon? Oh, well, we can perfectly share CalTIP and Capital America. We can perfectly share where our embassies and consulates are. It's a matter of public record. We have an embassy in Hatfield. We have a consulate in Santon. We have a consulate in the Western Cape below Cape Town. And we have another one in Durban. That's nothing wrong with that. Oh, okay. Tokai. Okay. Yeah, okay. Exactly. Okay. Well, yeah, you're right. That's down there by that big vineyard. It's right by the big vineyard. Yeah. Yep. Gotcha. Well, that's where the embassy, where the consulate's at. You got me saying, quack with airsoft. Quack with airsoft, just subscribe. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Don't know what that means. Quack with airsoft is funny. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Kenny guy was extremely patient, didn't mind repeating himself, so when they call you, just ask them to repeat and write it down. Exactly. Interview venues. Well, you shouldn't be giving locations. The interviews aren't being done. We're renting a small flat in Blauberg Strand, about 15. Well, Loretta, with that, don't say where the venue's at. That's not 15 minutes from Tokai. It's not 15 minutes from the consulate. Trust me, that's an hour from the consulate. Blauberg Strand is an hour from the consulate, not 15 minutes away. Not 15 minutes away. I know Blauberg Strand. Been there many, many times. Or you guys say Blueberg, but it's spelled Blauberg. Yep. No. The consulate in Cape Town is an hour, 45 minutes driving fast with no traffic from Gordons Bay. I know because I've done it. And from Blauberg or Bloberg Strand, it's an hour, best case. Well, no one's mentioning interview locations, Jack Seller. We're mentioning where U.S. diplomatic facilities are located. These interviews are not conducted at diplomatic facilities, so no one's disclosing that. All right? So there you go. And you're preaching the converted. I've been talking OPSEC all along, but there's no such thing as OPSEC when it comes to the location of U.S. diplomatic missions. They're a matter of public record. We want people to know where they are. If you want to apply for a visa to come to America, we're not going to go, come to the consulate. We won't tell you where it's at. It's a matter of public record. Right. So, yeah. Anyway. What do you mean by a logjam, Maze? I don't understand meaning a logjam after it's supported. What does that mean? What does that mean? They refused entry today for guys that didn't have email. Eventually let them in and sit in the parking lot till 1 p.m. Told, sorry, wait for an email for another date. Right, Hasigi. You asked to speak to someone aside. It's not the role of the security to turn you away. Yep. Okay, expat family, whatever. It's Cape Town. The entire thing falls under the Cape Town metropolitan area, okay? You've passed my message. Just want to ask if I can send you an email regarding the issue. You're welcome to do that, Jackie. Feel free. What's a logjam? It's when things are blocked up. First interviews, email, and ask them to politely check the system. Yep. You're welcome, Joy from Vike. Oh, boy. Well, I would always print out any correspondence I have when I go to a meeting like that. Yes, I know how it's pronounced, Quids, but it's not spelled that way, so I don't say it that way. I know it's Bloberg, but I don't say Bloberg. It's Blauberg. And Berg is bag, not Berg. I know what it means, Quids. Thank you. I appreciate it. I speak Afrikaans. Okay. Or I understand Afrikaans, I should say. I say Bloberg. No, I don't. I say Blauberg. If you get to the gate, you do not get past security if you do not have the email or printout. Right. So I don't understand what the question is. If you have the email, then they'll get you in there. But I've had people early on, a few weeks back in August, were saying they were told where to go, and they showed up. They were told that they didn't have an appointment, but they did. And I told them you should have taken the email with you. And they did, and then they were eventually allowed in. So you're right. The email tells you location, but that's not where this conversation got all went sideways. It went cattywampus. It all went cattywampus here because people were going on about recording things. Stop with the recording. Let's get back to the facts here. This was a question about people who were told they have an interview on a certain date. That's how this started. But they never received the email as of early afternoon the day before. And the question was, should they go to the venue? My advice is, you have an appointment. You don't know where. Go to the town. We just went through this whole process. I said, if you're going to Joburg, go to Santon, sit in the parking garage at 6:30 in the morning or whenever it opens up and wait for the text message. All right? If you were supposed to be in Pretoria, go hang out at the McDonald's on Schoeman Drive. Okay? That's what I said to do. If you're going to Cape Town, I don't know where to tell you to hang out because I don't know where they're doing the interviews in Cape Town, and I wouldn't disclose it anyway because then that would give it away. You know? You can hang out near the consulate, but I don't know that interviews are being done there, and no one should discuss where the interviews are being done. What I'm saying is that, cattywampus, yeah, you like that, cattywampus. I never said you need a print email. I showed them email on my phone. 2 families were thrown away because they didn't show their emails. Well, there you go. There you go. No, Krista, if I was in charge of this, this wouldn't be happening. I mean, I can't fix it immediately. It would take a couple weeks to fix the broken mess that's there now, but it's a mess. It's a mess. Well, Cronier, if you how do you have the location in time if you haven't received an email? That doesn't make any sense. Don't answer the question. Aren't you supposed to be there today? I'm confused. Aren't you supposed to be at your thing today, Cronier? Makes discombobulated seem tame. Yes, cattywampus. Alan, I'll see if I can get to it. I got so many. Alan says, looking at comments makes me believe it didn't apply. Why? Why does it make you leave? Obviously, you're not suffering from racial persecution, Alan, so I get you. Heinrich says, I was taught to pronounce it Blauberg, not Bloberg. And Betty says, don't worry, they check the appointment list. Even if you don't have an email, we saw over 10 families of venue that waited a bit, but were let in. The land was taken and became part of the All-Transcon. My grandfather's family had to move and give up everything. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Well, that's what I've told people for years. Oh, my goodness, Nikki, that's crazy. No, it is a mess, expat family Joubert. Just because it wasn't a mess for you doesn't mean it's not a mess. Trust me, I have detailed examples of what happened to people. Okay? Yes, a lot of people are creating a mess here that doesn't need to be a mess, but there is a mess here. There is a mess here. First off, the opaque behavior of the U.S. government in not telling people about this process and keeping things. I mean, why is it up to me, just some independent journalist sitting in Pennsylvania, to tell people what to expect from U.S. immigration law? And why did it take the U.S. Embassy months to put something up on the page? Why did it take them so long? Why was it up to me to describe what essentially became a pilot program, to call it a pilot program, a proof of concept? When I began using that terminology, of course, they're watching what I'm doing. Eventually, they accepted that term and they use it themselves. So, yeah, don't tell me it's not screwed up. It is. It is screwed up in so many ways. But, yes, a lot of people are making this more difficult than it should be. All right, Cronier. Okay, gotcha, Cronier. I thought your appointment was today. My bad. Anyway. I haven't talked to her yet, Chart. Chart Fund Deventer. I will talk to her after this. It was late last night when I finished. So, what's going on over here? I just got something on my phone. I will talk to her after this. I've got some errands to run this afternoon. Who's calling me? Calls keep coming in. Who are these people? Just getting spam calls. Okay. Nothing there. Sorry. Because it's still Biden's State Department. Well, no. I mean, we can call it Biden's State Department. Thank you, Andres Plingis, for subscribing. Yeah, it's a bureaucracy, and it isn't really affected. The only thing that really can be affected by the executive branch, for the most part, is the political appointees that run sections of it. I don't have an interview with Jaco Kleinhans tomorrow. I have an interview with Ernst von Sale tomorrow, so I've got to talk to him. So I'm waiting to hear back from him. Oh, and I've also got a comment from Flip Bice. Okay. Loretta says, all I can say is you've really been an anchor for us during this whole process and year for us. Thank you. You're very welcome. It's Ronnie on the phone. Who, Ronnie Lamola? Yeah, again, I wouldn't be telling people you got approved. That's, I mean, unless you're using a pseudonym here on YouTube, you know. Yep. Anyway, so we will be interviewing tomorrow. I don't know. He hasn't responded back. I'm waiting for him to get back with me. Okay, so here's what Church World Services is telling people. I don't know what date this is. Someone sent me the screen. The next edition post. So this is the 17th. Government shutdown is over. More than 45 days in the fiscal year, and yet not a single refugee has arrived amid the administration's ongoing refugee ban and refusal to consult with Congress on refugee admissions levels. See, this is a disingenuous Church World Services. That's disingenuous. On October 31st, Trump published a presidential determination that set the refugee admissions for historic low and reserved those slots primarily for Afrikaners from South Africa. The PD represents an intention to all but abandon the bipartisan refugee admissions program and exclude over 120,000 refugees in the pipeline. Well, why should they come here? Who were conditionally approved. You can read recent op-eds condemning the determination. See, this is not an objective outlet. So what about consultation? The Refugee Act has very specific requirements for an admission before setting annual refugee ceiling. The Trump administration has already violated several of them. Under the Act, the administrator is required to set the refugee target before the start of the new fiscal year. The PD was not published in the Federal Register until 30 days in the fiscal year. Well, the problem with that, of course, is that the PD was signed on 30 September in the fiscal year, so Church World Service is full of shit. Conduct the appropriate consultation with members of the House and Senate Judiciary Committee prior to publishing PD. As of 17 November, weeks after PD was published, no consultations have occurred. Of course, the Democrats were in the process of shutting the government down in September, so it was impossible to do that. So, it appears the administration is intending to schedule some form of post hoc meetings with Congress before attempting to resume refugee flights, but it's unclear to what extent these could be described as appropriate consultations under the law when the PD is already published. It's no wonder judiciary committees have already called the PD illegal and invalid. It's not illegal and invalid. The president's determined is not. That is the president's prerogative. So Church World Service is this disingenuous, dishonest, shameful organization that is angry because they're not making hundreds of millions of dollars off of refugees. That's what's wrong, I hear. So who was it that sent that to me? That was sent to me. Vika sent that to me. So Vika, there's your answer. Yeah, thank you, Jack. Yesterday, during yesterday's stream, you wrote the same thing in chat. Don't discuss things in replies. Yeah, guys, please don't disrupt OPSEC. Yep. It would be amazing if church world serves keep the government contract refugees. It should be given to an organization that's not biased. Yep. Whole extended family is against the program, so we don't even want to tell them. I mentioned it once to my dad. By the way, if you were supposed to come on the 19th, you're not coming over. You're not coming over. You should have been informed by now. If you were supposed to fly on the 19th of November, you should have been informed by now. You're welcome, Elna, and you're very welcome. But if you were supposed to fly on the 19th, there were people said they were supposed to fly on the 19th of November as refugees come to America. You're not coming over the 19th. You should have already been informed. No, don't tell anybody, Loretta. Your father's wrong. You're not making a huge mistake. Look, I'm not advocating or requesting anybody to come to this country. We have enough people coming here. So I'm not in favor. I'm not opposed to your coming over here. But for people telling you're making a mistake, no, they don't know it. They don't know what they're talking about. No, it has nothing to do with CWS. Nothing. CWS is just lying to the world. They're lying to the world, misleading people. They're making editorial comments instead of facts. Yep. No, Mad Max, did you just turn in? I just said that I haven't talked to Lily. I'm talking to her after this. That was like 5 minutes ago I said that. Did you step away from the program? Yeah. Anyway, so, yeah, no, it has nothing to do with CWS. It has to do with, I mean, there's no reason whatsoever that the president can't start refugees coming over now. The only thing that I thought was an issue was that it be published in the Federal Register, but it's actually in the Register, so I'm not sure why people think that's an issue. Yeah. So the presidential determination is done. The budget is, or the to-do resolution is continued. As long as they can find the money to pay for this to happen, this should be able to happen. Oh, you had to shake off a log jam. Well, log jams are not easily shaken off. That's the point. Logs are large, and they float down rivers, and they get jammed up. When will the flights resume? Well, Sandra, I told you 7 to 10 business days after the lockdown or the shutdown ends. We haven't reached 7 to 10 business days. That was my analysis before the shutdown even started. Well, the F-16 pilots get trained in America, those Ukrainians. So, anyway, or Germany. Wolf can't wait for the interview. Cool, me either. All right, guys. Gosh, we've been at this for nearly 2 hours. I didn't realize that. It's crazy, but I mean, it is crazy how many. Imagine being an F-16 pilot. Yep. Some people can't adapt to change. Others find it difficult. Well, that's life, Kathy. That's life. Some people don't like change. My whole life has been changed. Everything in my life has been changed. You can't get comfortable in things. I'm so confused when I asked. I was told nothing is going to happen until government is open. And now you're saying if we haven't flown by now or given a notice, you're confused. Okay, well, then you didn't listen. If you're confused, Quids, you did not listen. I have said since... I don't know why you're confused. I didn't get anything confusing. I didn't tell anybody anything confusing. Nothing is going to happen until the government opens. Doesn't mean you get on a plane the minute the government is open. Never said that. Nothing is going to happen means that no one is going to make movement to bring people to the States. You can't arrange funds and move people and have people escorted to the embassy, to the airport, and receive them and send and process things until the government reopens because they're all on furlough. I've explained that many, many, many times. The furlough is over. The government has resumed. I've told people from the outset, do not expect flights to start immediately when the government goes back to work. I have said that 1,000 times since August, September. I have said all along 7 to 10 business days before anyone at the earliest could come over. Rude alignment now says that your country doesn't have all the problems that the whites claim to have. I don't know what rude alignment is saying. No, people don't listen. And then I got accused of saying things I never said by people. Not anyone in this chat, but in other places. Gosh, it gets frustrating at some point. People hear what they want to hear. People hear what they want to hear. Anyway, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done it. I'm sorry. I'm tired of saying the same thing over and over again. Over and over and over again. Over and over again. Over and over again. I don't know why people are confused. This isn't a refugee conversation, but it's turned into one. And I don't know why people are confused. It's not confusing. What is confusing is the conduct of my government, its opaque behavior. And I've said that from the outset, and I continue to say that. Yes, Quids, I got a rant. Thank you for that. I didn't want to rant, but I'm growing very frustrated with all this. I don't know how many times you have to explain these things to people. Who in their right mind thought that the moment you're not in the corner, Quids, you're fine. You just gave me an excuse to do it. Who in their right mind would think that the moment that the continuing resolution is approved, people would start flying over here? Who thought that? The only question we had is if the people who had flights booked already, like the 19th of November, because they were booking flights in advance, even though they didn't have the resolution approved. The only question once the government was restarted was, would those people fly? Is there enough time for them to fly? I can tell you now that the people on the 19th aren't flying. They're not flying. So that's 2 days away. And it wasn't enough time, apparently. I don't know when the first flights will be. I don't know. But that was the only question for me, because I don't have the information. Guys, I don't work in the government. I don't have sources inside the U.S. government who share what's going on. What I give you almost exclusively is my analysis based on the information that's available. And I'm pretty much right most of the time, if not all the time, correct? Most of the time I'm correct, which is amazing. But it speaks to my level of analytical capability, my experience, my knowledge of the U.S. system, my knowledge of all these other things. So there you go. Business days, Odin, 7 to 10 business days. You're welcome, Tyrone. Everyone needs a rant. Guess now would be the wrong time to ask how much build time would cost. Thank you, Evan. I think I would be a great grandfather. Be a great dad, too. I'm not always right, but Hercules, but thank you. Engine needs to go into motion first. Exactly. Engine needs to go into motion first. And yes, you're correct, almost everything. In the state of play that CW published, they continually mention the 7th place in the U.S. intake, implying refugees worldwide. Yeah, they do say that, Pearl. That's correct. But that's factually incorrect as well, because it's not going to just be off for Congress. We've already seen that. Indians and coloreds are coming over. If anyone takes the time to do the simple math, majority of applicants are going nowhere. You don't know that, Alan. You don't know that. How many applicants are there? How many applicants are there, Alan? Do you know the number? Do you know the figure? We don't know. You're welcome, Rudolph. Quinn says, I still love you even if we could chew you out. Hey, Cyrus, what's going on? Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here with 500 viewers. I hate to go, but I do need to go. I've got other things to do. You've got an evening. No, I didn't cock anybody out. That was just a random one. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, we're getting close to Christmas. Got Thanksgiving before that. You guys take care and have a good day. Thanks for being here. I appreciate everyone's support for the channel and being here. Really do appreciate it. We had a peak this show of 812. Wow, that's a little bit better. Get back to the real numbers. So cool. All right, thanks everybody. Take care. Be well. And if I have any breaking stories, I'll get you something later in the day. But hopefully nothing will break because I've got errands to run. God bless and be safe. Cheers. And you can notice that I've been wearing reading glasses the whole time because my eyes are messed up, not enough sleep. Cheers. Bye-bye.